Welcome to the Media Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadebonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
Kenton, did you watch the Emmys this week?
I did indeed, as a matter of fact.
And how were they? I didn't.
Oh, you didn't watch? I thought you had watched them, and I was like,
No.
wow, I can't believe you asked me that.
I want you to give me the recap.
I have to say, something's in the air because I enjoyed the Oscars all the way through.
Okay.
And I enjoyed the Emmys almost all the way through. Close.
Really?
Not as much as the Oscars. There was the air always leaves the place when you get whoever the president of the Emmy Awards is to come out and whatever and kill any enthusiasm that may be left. But apart from that, there was a moment that I thought of you, Dan. That I think you'll find it online, or if you haven't seen it.
Well, you're talking
already.
about the Happy Days thing.
Yes,
you thought of me. Excellent.
Well, of course, you're watching it. I mean,
I was.
And I just seeing Richie and the Fonz, the actors standing there together, and then the Fonz, Henry Winkler, but he's the Fonz.
Yeah.
He hit the machine and started the music.
Yeah.
What's not to love? It was a lot, but they should have had more cast members there, but it was nice.
It was very nice. I only saw a brief clip of it. I don't even know if I've seen the whole bit. I just saw them come out and they were complaining because they didn't get music and someone else got music or something like that, and they were talking about that. But yeah, then it was very cool and kind of surreal because I've just been watching this recently.
Yeah.
Like these two guys, very, very young at the beginning of their career in this incredible show, and to see them 50 years later and the moment where he bangs the jukebox, that was cool, and everyone loved it. Everyone cheered. Yeah, a lot of fun.
And I thought seeing them together felt so good. At the very least, we should have a special or let's bring. Like, I don't want the remember that time. I don't want that.
Well,
special.
that's what they did. They did that every year. Yeah. Like Happy Days, every season has a flashback special.
But we don't want that. We don't want remember when. We don't want that. Like the friends are reuniting, and it's just them sitting around bullshitting. Who cares? I want a show where they play the older versions of themselves on that show.
And so you see what happened to them. What happened to them? How their life? I want to find out what happened to Potsy.
And, by the way, Anson Williams, is he still with us?
I hope so. I don't know.
I'm not sure about that one. I don't know. This is a tough one. Well, I think Donnie Most is still around.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see the Happy Days.
Oh, no, you're gonna look it up? We know the parents have both passed away.
Of course.
Yeah.
I have. Oh, no, I don't have internet for some reason. Never mind.
Oh, wow.
Mystery. But yeah, some kind of reunion.
Al, I think is Al still around? The guy who played Al?
Maybe.
Big Al?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Was there anything else from the Emmys that stood out to you besides that?
I thought some of the awards were interesting. I was shocked when Hacks won Best Comedy, I should say. The Bear was winning all the awards in comedy. Like,
it's not a comedy, though. That's the thing that drives me nuts. It gets nominated because it's a half-hour show, I think, is its criteria. Like, that's the only reason why it's a comedy to them.
It's silly because it's more a drama than a comedy, though there are funny scenes in it. So it's like...
There are funny characters, right? And some situations are funny, but the bulk of that show is very dramatic and very, I would say, traumatic in a lot of ways because it's so stressful, the situations they're in. But a lot of people didn't like that. Hacks makes more sense because it's a comedy. It's a straight-up comedy.
Except I have to say, I have watched every episode of The Bear. I've watched every episode of Hacks. I think I'd seen every show that was nominated. I think I'm right up to date on every show that was made. There might have been one that's sneaked in there from Hulu or something that I didn't see. But I thought the last two episodes of Hacks were the two worst episodes that they've ever made in terms of they were heavy-handed. It was like The Acolyte, where suddenly characters made decisions that weren't in keeping with their characters just to have a cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I was kind of like, I thought if anybody would win, it would be Jean Smart, and she did win.
Mm-hmm.
But I never saw this show winning over the other quality it was up against, so that was weird. And what else?
Was it Dan and Eugene Levy that hosted?
Yes, and they were great.
Yeah.
They were an interesting combination of, they weren't like side-splitting funny, but they were friendly and genial. They stayed out of everybody's way. They were that kind of host.
They're good Canadians.
And they made a joke at the beginning about we're not comedians. Like, just so you guys know, we're not comedians. And it was funny, and it made people laugh. Like, they made people laugh just by saying we're not comedians, and we're up here together as the first father and son duo kind of thing. And so I thought they did I thought they were overexposed going into this. Like, they're in that commercial in Canada. And it's
they're very heavily, they're in heavy rotation up here. So we get a lot of Eugene and Dan Levy.
But I was happy to see them. Yeah. And then Catherine O'Hara's there and Martin Short's there. It's a mini SCTV reunion. But they don't do the bring them all up on stage and go SCTV reunion.
Well, it's Canadian though. They don't care about that.
I know they don't give a shit.
They do not care.
And I was very happy that SNL was up against Last Week Tonight and SNL lost.
Oh, good.
It was only 2 nominees, but I'm like, enough with the awards to SNL.
Okay, but does that mean that actually brings up another point as far as like late night TV goes? Does that mean that is that what you're talking about? That's a category, late night. It's like
variety
show or whatever. It's
something,
weird, but is that like Last Week Tonight and SNL the only shows left that fit into that? There was no Tonight Show.
Jon Stewart won for the Daily Show for another category. So I can't remember what the distinction is between those because you'd think they'd be in the same category.
You think that the Daily Show and Last Week Tonight would be the same? Maybe not the Tonight Show because they're more like focused on the guests, are not as newsy.
Yeah, maybe.
That's interesting. But yeah, I'm glad that Last Week Tonight won. That's an amazing show, and John Oliver is hilarious. And Jon Stewart is hilarious, too. They're both hilarious Johns.
Well, I'm not as big a fan of Jon Stewart, I have to say.
I like the Daily Show that he's been back on.
He's a little screamy on that show.
That's funny, though.
Maybe it is. Maybe that's his act, right? It's like me complaining that Rodney Dangerfield gets no respect, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of his no respect shtick. That's his shtick. That's him.
Yeah. Everything is his. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Point well taken.
One thing I want to talk about today was Disney Plus and the state of streaming, because I made a shift in my streaming subscriptions. First of all, it was brought on by Disney Plus because they cracked down on the location thing for us. So I was using my mom's Disney Plus account and she was sharing my, I think, Prime or Netflix or something. We were like, she pays for one, I pay for the other, and we just share the passwords. And that was working for a long time. Then all of a sudden, Disney Plus, it says, we detect that this is not the household of this account. So please, and it sets up for you to do one of those send the text the code things. You can do the double 2-factor authentication. Like, I don't want to bug my mom about this right now. And she never gets back to me on those things. So
right.
I'm not going to bother. So I didn't bother watching whatever it was. I think I was actually watching Lost. I started rewatching Lost again. So that's on Disney Plus, and I was watching that. So I didn't bother with it, and I went to something else, another streaming service. Then I came back to Disney Plus another day later, and same thing. It won't let me stream because I thought, okay, I thought at first it was just a warning, but now no, they are really cracking down on the location stuff. So then fine, I'm going to get my own Disney Plus account. But they had a special on Kenton. You may have seen it advertised on every streaming platform and music streaming service over the last few weeks. They went really heavy.
I did. I have noticed the ad, but I don't remember what the deal was.
Well, the deal was $1.99 a month for 3 months for Disney Plus.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
then it's $8.99 after. It's for the ad-supported Disney Plus, though. Ad-supported Disney Plus. What's that face for, Mr. Advertising Instructor?
Yeah, but it has its time and place.
Okay. Well,
CBC Gem is unwatchable to me.
Well, but I think that's not because there are ads, because there are too many ads and too many ad breaks.
Too many of the same ad as well.
Yes, that's
and
true.
Also poorly positioned ads. Like that, it basically fails on every metric, right? In terms of the ads you want to see, et cetera.
But I think that's because they tried to make CBC Gem like CBC. They tried to basically duplicate what they did on TV on a streaming service, and that's not the way to go about this. Now,
but we pay taxes that pay CBC. So, do the math.
Which gives us the right to call them and complain, is basically.
Right, we get to call and complain, and we get to tell them we don't want to see ads because we bankroll you.
I used to get, when I worked at CBC Sunday mornings, I would get complaints if, like, Coronation Street was...
Oh, yeah. That's the number one thing that people watch on CBC, which is British programming. Yeah.
Anyway.
We don't want to see the Canadian program.
But Netflix is doing it. Netflix is, by the way, I'm also on ad-supported Netflix. So it's both of the main streaming services have ad-supported options. It is way cheaper. It is like $5.49 a month for Netflix, ad-supported, and it's $8.99 a month, which was like the starting price of Disney Plus when it first, right? Remember that? Way back when?
Yeah.
So now what is Disney Plus? Like $20 a month? So much.
I think I just got my charge. Showed up on my phone today. I got the notification. I think it might be $11.99 or $12.99, but I don't know. That could be U.S. dollars.
Yeah, that's true.
I am not even sure.
That's always confusing.
Yeah.
And they never change it. They never change it for you.
No, but it also depends on where, like, when you bought the package. Was it, was it just a U.S. service that we happen to have here? So I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that I went ahead and got it. I'm like, I want to check this out anyway. I want to see how they're handling ads, how they're placing them. And so far, it's been not too bad. It's very minimal. It's 1 or 2 ads per break. It is mostly, it's all professional stuff. It's none of that crappy stuff we were talking about last week. Like, it's none of the business doing the ads themselves. They seem to be like professionally produced ads by agencies. These are for, a lot of high-end stuff, just like CBC Gem, cars, family products, lottery ads. But that's it. That's all we're getting. And it's not very intrusive, and it's at. I mean, if you're watching a TV show, it's perfectly fit because you can just place it where the ad break would be in the TV show. But even for a movie, I find like in a 2-hour movie, there's only one ad break and it's only 2 ads.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that they're not going to ramp it up and add.
Oh, they're going to ramp it up.
I think so, but I kind of like it this way. And I wish they would keep it this way. I think this is fine. I think the fewer ads you have, the more you can charge for those ads, and they're more meaningful.
Right, but I also like Amazon Prime is the only one that does the best thing, which is you're watching a movie, and at the beginning it says, thanks to the good people at whatever
brand for making this for making this entire thing ad free. Yes,
there you go. And it does make me like that brand more, and it does make me like the streaming platform more. But the other stuff.
Well, that's probably really expensive for them to buy that thing, I'm sure. Like, it's like you're sponsoring the entire 2 hours of programming.
And it's attached to a film that's usually in demand by people. And so
like a high, like a
new release, and Amazon knows they're going to get people watching. But just watching Netflix with no commercials and Disney Plus with no commercials, it's just such a joy.
Okay.
That I think, and at first I tried to pay for commercial free on Prime. And you know what happens, right?
No, I don't.
So you're like, so I see it, and the first thing is like, you're like, $2 extra, and you're like, fine. You go, fine. So I went, fine. So I clicked yes, I'll pay $2 extra. I was like, I thought that'd be it. So I'm looking at it on Apple TV, and then the screen pops up, and it goes, you can only do this from your laptop, chump. And I was like, fuck, whatever. Pardon me. I did say that though. I said, oh yeah, we can swear on her. So that's what I said. I said, fuck, I'll do this. I'll leave it. I'll leave it the way it is then. And I never bothered because
one more thing, and you're like, no, forget it. Like it's that much, that just a little bit of resistance, and you're like, nope, not doing it.
Have you gone to the streaming sites online though and tried to find?
Yes.
It's like there's certain things that you're looking for. Sometimes it is not an easy time navigating.
They make you go there. What they do is they make you go there to cancel subscriptions. So they on Prime, in particular, is the worst for this. They have all these little packages you can add on. Hollywood Suite or Paramount Plus or whatever, all these little streaming services, you can add them on for a little bit, like a few more dollars a month. And so you can subscribe right there in the moment. Yes, I can click on that on my Apple TV or my Roku or whatever. But boy, you cannot unsubscribe on that. You have to go and log into the website and dig through the settings, find the part, and then unsubscribe from those. That's a big pain in the ass. But they want you to forget about it so they keep charging you for it. That's why they do that, right?
Subscriptions and bundling, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, another
confusion.
I've also noticed that Disney Plus and maybe some others, I don't know, are getting into the streaming service, as in like live streaming events, like the presidential debate last week between President Trump and Kamala Harris. I tried watching it on Disney Plus, but it looked like they were having buffering issues.
They were.
So I was like, okay, forget it. I'm going to go to YouTube. I think I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But that's like, they're just trying to compete with YouTube by doing that kind of stuff, right? That's why they have it there.
Right. Last night I watched Oprah's town hall with Kamala Harris.
Oh.
And it was streamed live as well.
On Disney Plus?
No, it was on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But that's the kind of thing where, I think streamers should be picking that stuff up.
Yeah.
But when it's on YouTube, anybody can watch it, which makes it a little more appealing, like for an election kind of thing. But I mean, it's one of those things where it allows you to be part of something as it's broadcast live, and of course with online you can do feedback, you can see other people joining, like who's watching and how many people and stuff. And it just makes it more exciting.
But it also puts them on the same level as the networks, especially when it comes to like live sports. We're going to see that as well. I think Amazon signed a deal with the NHL. I think Monday nights we're going to get NHL games this year.
Right.
And on Amazon Prime. And so that's available for anybody to watch who has a Prime subscription. And more of that stuff is going to pop up. So it's going to take away the business from the networks.
It also becomes more confusing to follow as a fan. And I find like...
Okay.
And I saw there was an article about Vancouver Canucks. I've been to Vancouver, so I get tons of ads that assume I'm from Vancouver and stuff.
Because you just went there.
And ads and articles. Flipboard thinks I'm from Vancouver. There's no doubt about it. So I get all of that stuff. And one of the things was how are you supposed to follow this Canucks schedule? And so they break it down in the article about, well, you need this on that day and you need this platform on that day.
Really?
It's quite broken down.
So look, it's
and they said 2 days, there's no way to watch it.
So it's like they know how valuable live sports is as a product, right? They're like, everybody who still wants to watch live sports, still in desire, they can still sell advertising and make money off of advertising by doing it. So they're like dividing up the sports amongst all the different networks. Everyone's buying, and of course the sports love it because everyone will pay them. Like the sport will get paid for the rights to broadcast, right? So the NHL or whatever. So they're happy having whoever it is. But for the fans, it sucks because there's no one place. It used to be able you could just turn on one, like CBC, Hockey Night in Canada, Saturday nights was the one place you could go to get every Canadian hockey game anyway.
Yeah.
But that's not the case anymore.
No, and I think what saves us in Winnipeg is we're a smaller market. And I think what hammers Vancouver is they're a big market with a much larger population. And so there's more to divvy up probably. And that's probably where that's coming in.
Yeah.
But you know, as a sports fan, I don't want to be guessing where the sports are going to be. And we've all had that horrible scare where you're like, I think I'm going to enjoy the World Cup today. Today it's starting. And you go there and you're like, where the hell is the World Cup? And you're flipping through 200 channels. You're searching and it doesn't come up. And then you find it's called FIFA. And then you find it or whatever. But sometimes you don't find it. Like a couple times I was looking for Winnipeg Jets games, couldn't find them. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I'll do something else. Now, ultimately, I think they were broadcast somewhere, but that also like hurts you as a sports fan and hurts the sport if people can't follow the games when they want to see them.
Absolutely, yeah. It's an issue, right? And so, I don't know. Do you think people would start watching sports on Prime? Do you think that's going to work? If it's free and they already have it, a lot of people have Prime subscriptions for the delivery aspect, not necessarily the streaming part of it. But if they've already got that, then why wouldn't you watch it?
You would, but how bad is the buffering? What is the delay?
So there's some unknown factors here.
What is the delay between what people are seeing on TV and what you're seeing on streaming? Like we've all had that experience too, where I'm texting people out of province and they're seeing stuff 4 seconds before me. So, you know, score. They send you score, and you're like, shit, it hasn't happened here yet. It's like a spoiler,
right?
You know, so if that's the case, then that won't work either. It needs to be right up to the minute.
Yeah, but you also see, as evidenced by the Disney Plus problem with the debate, if they're they're still we're learning how to do this, right? It's not going to be smooth. It's not going to work smoothly the first couple of times.
Right.
So people are more likely to go back to TSN or ESPN or whatever, like the sports network that's been doing it for years now. They know what they're doing. So people would rather, there's more like faith in the quality of that. There is few things more frustrating than buffering during a sports game. That is really just...
or anything. Like it goes black.
Yeah.
Like the Sopranos finale. It goes black. You got to wait a while before it continues again.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know. I just found it's interesting that these streaming services are now trying to basically infringe on the cable companies' business, right? They're just going to move in.
But it's becoming that.
It is.
It's the same thing. Commercial interruptions. You pay for a package.
So, I don't understand why Disney Plus just doesn't stream ABC. Like the channel ABC that Disney owns, they should have that as a stream on Disney Plus, right?
It should be easy. But did you hear that Disney's getting into streaming Marvel and Star Wars 24 hours a day? Did you see that
news
item?
No.
But I don't get it because I'm like, what's the difference? I can watch it on demand or I can just dip into the stream anytime.
That is the difference. And people like that.
Yeah, it's weird that they like that.
Well, it's the same thing that I've been talking about with these free, like on the Roku channel and all these free streaming channels they have. It's just live. And a lot of them is just reruns of old 80s shows. Some of them, there's a Rhett and Link channel that just runs Rhett and Link episodes 24 hours a day. And people like to tune in and watch for a show for a bit and then tune out. And so if they're doing that for Marvel movies, I think that would work really well, especially for like the ones that people love and have watched over and over again. Mm-hmm. And when you have as many movies as they have, then you can just turn on and say, oh, hey, look, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's watch this. So people will sit down. I guarantee that's a great idea. People will like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that would work.
I'm constantly surprised by what people like.
Yeah.
But the young people in particular, they want to watch, okay, they prefer streaming to on demand. Okay. They like PowerPoint now, it appears. All right. Okay. Well, you do you, but I think it's horrible. And what was the third thing? Oh, they like, the other thing we've noted is they like the grab bags with junk in them for $5.
The surprise boxes, yes.
Yeah.
That was a big seller at Comic-Con.
I had that discussion with my class today. I'm like, what's with you guys buying bags of junk? And I said, like, our college here sells bags of junk for $5. And last year, some students bought it, and it was like 20 name tags for $5. Like, who needs that? and you know what my students' response was today? They're like, well, those are expensive, so they got a good deal. I'm like, that's not a good deal. Like, what? Like, it's a good deal if they can then turn around and sell them.
If you can actually use the product, it's a good deal, but not otherwise.
I've become a name tag reseller because I bought a surprise bag. Oh God.
What about the shows that have been dropping on Netflix, Disney Plus? Have you seen anything awesome lately that has been like really drawn you in?
Yeah, I watched Rebel Ridge on Netflix.
Okay.
You know that it's First Blood all over again, but
Okay.
but First Blood's good.
Yeah.
So it's and Don Johnson is the bad cop. So you're kind of like, oh, good. It's going to be fun when Don Johnson get his.
Wait, who else is in that?
John Johnson's the big name. In fact, I don't even know the main actor's name. I looked up his. I really like him, so I looked up his what he's been in, and I didn't recognize anything.
Okay, I saw a trailer the other day that had Don Johnson and somebody else in it, and I was making a joke. The other person had a character name too, and I said it was Sonny Crockett and somebody else. I can't remember what the other person. It was a new movie. I think. I don't think this is the one.
Oh, another one.
I guess so. Don Johnson is getting the work. It is a
well, he's a good villain. You eagerly anticipate him getting his comeuppance. It's pretty good.
Have you been watching Chaos on Netflix with Jeff Goldblum?
No. You know, I put it in the watch list, and there's just been lots of other stuff that took priority. Why did you? Are you liking it?
Yeah, it's really good. It's kind of a twist on the Greek mythology, but this is a world in which instead of Catholicism or Christianity dominating the Western world, actually this might take place, I think it's a British series, so this might just be mainly in Europe. But the idea is that the Greek mythology is the dominant religion, that people believe in Zeus and Hera and all the Greek gods as they do believe in God now. So it's not just myth, they're real. And so the idea, Jeff Goldblum plays Zeus, and there's a bunch of people playing all these other characters, so great actors in it, and it's a really cool idea. Because it explores like the afterlife, it explores all the aspects of Greek mythology, but also in the modern times, and it kind of like I think there's an analogy there for Palestine, for all kinds of things happening here, because they have the Trojans, which are like the group of people they don't like, the group of people that are treated poorly because they defeated Trojans, right, or whatever that the Trojan horse thing.
Yeah.
So that's like part of their history. It's just a very cool show, and so I think it's an interesting show. And I think it's interesting that these networks are still going hard on these series. Like this is a big, it's got big names, big budget, and you're still seeing a ton of those. Even though like Hollywood is kind of pulling back on that a bit as far as the movie theaters go, but the streaming services are still going full bore with that.
I know it's pretty amazing. Like just the sheer volume of stuff being produced.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I should mention about Disney Plus too is I really like the FX content on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge value added. I'm watching a show called The English Teacher, which is a raunchier Abbott Elementary, basically at high school level. Like they are bundling it for us, but like if the quality's there, I'll stick with it. You know, and Netflix has had some really good stuff in the past year. Right when you think you're kind of done with it, it kind of starts coming out.
Sure.
Yes,
I was done with it. I canceled my Netflix subscription a couple of months ago, and I had to renew it.
Yeah.
My daughter loves Arcane, so I have to. She'd kill me if I didn't have it for Arcane, which is coming out I think next month.
Okay.
She's excited about that. So do you have Apple TV Plus?
I have sampled from it.
Okay.
Having had free buying Apple products means you get it free for 3 months or whatever, and I've done that many times. So I've watched, and each time I do it, I binge as much as I can on there until it expires.
Right. So and that's kind of become, it's called churning, right? When people get a service for a month and then watch everything they can on it, and then cancel it. So they almost cancel right away. Like my mom will do that. Well, she'll like sign up for something and then cancel. She'll go into the settings and cancel, so she won't forget later. And then you just enjoy that for a month. I did that with BritBox recently. But
I did it with BritBox too.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But the thing about Apple TV Plus recently is they're kind of under fire for not releasing the new Brad Pitt George Clooney movie called Wolves. Why is it Wolves and not Wolves? Can you tell me that?
What? Well, wasn't that okay? Did I thought that it was supposed to go in the theater and then it didn't?
It didn't. No, it got a limited release, but it's just on the Apple TV Plus now.
Oh, okay.
It did not get wide release.
Right. The actors don't want like that. They want it.
To be in live because it's the only way more people are going to see it. Nobody is going to see it on Apple TV Plus. The theater
doesn't look very good either.
Well, I mean,
that's why it's going there.
Yes, exactly. That's what people are saying, that the Apple TV is starting to realize that. Yeah. Poor quality TV shows and movies reflect poorly on its brand. Brand is Apple. So now Apple's getting really worried about the kind of stuff it's putting out. But yeah, basically they're pissed. Brad and George, they're not going to they've kind of said a little thing publicly about it, but They're happy it was released on Apple TV Plus. They think it should be released in the theaters because they want more people to see it. It's more accessible for people in the theaters than it is on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah.
People are not going to sign up for Apple TV Plus just to watch this movie. And that's the mistake all these streaming services seem to make, is that they think that if they come up with this great movie or this great series, it's going to be enough to get people to actually subscribe to it. I think that's very rare. I don't think that happens a lot. I think people are more likely to subscribe to a service when they see a deal, when they get a discount, when there's like, oh, let's try this new one for a while and see how this is. That's why they want to try it. It's not going to be on the strength of a specific show or series. So like this whole strategy of like, we're going to hold the George Clooney and Brad Pitt movie for ourselves and you guys have to come to us to watch it, is just going to fail.
Yeah, that doesn't seem, and I should also point out that I've noticed that I think Apple TV's shows have the biggest crash and burns of any, like shows that start great. The first seasons of so many of these shows are fantastic, and then as they go along, they just implode. They're terrible at a certain point. They become parodies of themselves. For All Mankind, I think, is a great example of that, where
I haven't finished it yet.
You can't finish. It's impossible because it gets so shitty.
But does it really?
The first two, like season and a half, probably about half of the second season are quite good. Oh my god!
Well, the third season. So I started watching the third season, and they were just getting to the thing where they're going after this asteroid. Right?
Yeah,
and I had my subscription expired. I didn't bother renewing, so I didn't finish watching. And I thought I'll just watch it the next time I get Apple TV Plus, and I probably will watch it. It's a show that I really like because the premise is really cool.
The show, yes, the premise is great, and I like the actors, and I like there's so much to like. And then the show just loses its focus, and you're like, what am I even watching? Like, I don't want a soap opera in space.
Right.
I don't want that. I want, this is you're showing us the future in this fictional Earth universe.
Yeah.
Like, wow us. You've been wowing us with that. You can still wow us with it, but they don't. And it's really sad where that series goes. But most of their series, what's the M. Night Shyamalan one with, the first season's great. It's about the devil baby. There's a devil baby.
The devil baby? No, I don't know.
There's some kind of... Oh, no. It's not... No. Oh, no. It's a terrible tragedy with the baby, but the baby comes back, and maybe it is the devil baby. and the first season, you're like, whoa, this is incredible. In the second season, things that have scared the shit out of you are played for laughs.
Oh.
Where you're like... Where it just becomes like, what is this? Like, is it best comedy at the Emmys? Like, this was haunting... And now it's a joke. And so there's a bunch like that.
So you think that it's because the Apple TV is just giving a bunch of money to these showrunners, pitches a show, and they don't bother thinking it through. They're like, okay, we got this first season. We're going to do the first season. And then Apple decides to renew them for a second. They're like, oh, crap, I guess we got to come up with something else here.
That's partially it. And I think maybe the writing staff does a great job on season one, so they all get hired elsewhere.
Right. Well, there's that too, right? They move on. Yeah. That's also...
Yeah, and then they bring in the B team or whatever, and a lot, and we made fun of The Acolyte. We said it was not, of a quality that we're used to in Star Wars. But I think most of Apple TV shows kind of end up looking like The Acolyte in the end because and it's all writing.
Yeah,
it's all writing. So I do think that is a brand issue for Apple.
Yeah, but I don't know what they're going to do about it because their strategy seems to be like, we're just going to keep doing it and we're not going to worry about the movie theater stuff. Prime also doesn't release movies in the theater. There was another one because Amazon bought MGM, and now no MGM movies get released in movie theaters. Like whatever is being produced under MGM Studios is going straight to Prime. Like the one with Jake Gyllenhaal, Roadhouse. The Roadhouse remake is a good example.
Right.
Doug Liman directed that, right? That's a big-name Hollywood director. Yeah. That's a big Hollywood movie, and it goes straight to streaming.
Right.
Same with Netflix and Beverly Hills Cop, the new Beverly Hills Cop movie. That absolutely should have been in theaters. Like, people would have flocked to theaters for that.
Yeah, I didn't mind that at all. It was like
they're not. Yeah. There's no incentive for them to release in the theater because they just want people to subscribe to their...
The other thing is, it's hard to get people off their asses to go to the theater anymore. True. And I almost never go. I still haven't gone to see Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh,
and
still in theaters?
It must be.
Wow, that's the longest one in a while.
Well, yeah, and it's sort of the first must-see Marvel in
a long time,
4 or 5 years probably. And I will see it, but at this point now, look, I made it this long. Might as well wait. It's going to be on Disney Plus one.
So now it becomes a staring contest, and it's like Disney will not budge. They're so freaking stubborn about this. They want to play it out. They want to maximize those profits in the theater as much as they can.
Yeah.
So they're going to hold it for another month, and then they're going to drop it, and they'll make a big deal of it. My most hated step in this process is the $25 rental process part of it, where they put it as a premium rental for $25. I don't know anybody who's renting that.
No.
Right? Like, that's just I think it's a failed tactic, because I think that they're just trying, first of all, it takes away the incentive to go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're just like, oh, I'll just be on streaming sooner. But then, it's just not worth it. $25 to watch a 2-hour movie at home is not worth it.
Well, there's big brands that might be able to get away with it, but the problem is they've eroded Star Wars to the extent where I don't know that would be successful. At one point, it would have been.
Yeah, I mean,
and same with Marvel. At one point, it would have been a successful strategy, but they kind of squandered it.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to be. I mean, go ahead, do that, but I think probably the uptake on people doing it isn't great. And I also don't think. I think in the early days, I remember when VHS tapes were really expensive, people would have parties and they'd buy the $100 VHS of Top Gun or something because that's how much it was for a year. Like, you couldn't even see it.
That's video stores had to pay $100 for video tapes. Yes.
And so if you wanted to buy it, you had to pay $100 as a private owner.
Yeah.
And they would have video viewing parties where they'd invite 15 of their friends who all paid $4 or something. And so to reduce the cost of the videotape, I just don't think that's I don't think people are having get-togethers in their houses like they used to. I just think so you can't even count on that.
No.
They might stream it at the same time. I think that's the big downfall of Apple's head device too.
Oh yeah,
you can't watch it with someone.
Are people even using that though? I don't know if anybody's using that.
I don't know either. And I think you just feel like an idiot wearing it around. But but when it's not big anymore, and when you can actually share experiences with somebody else in the room, then maybe. But I mean, the whole point of watching a movie with other people is you enjoy it with them.
Right.
You can
shared experience.
Yeah, and at home you can talk without disturbing anybody except the person you're talking to. Oftentimes.
Yeah, but they can just tell you shut up.
Yeah. So I don't know, but there is part the thing I like about the technology is no screen, but you have a screen.
Right.
That's cool.
One thing about I was going to say to you, one sign that YouTube has won the streaming wars, I think, is that this past week Apple had a big announcement, as they often do, with the iPhone 16 we're up to now, right? Is that the big announcement?
I think that's right. iOS 18.
iOS 18.
Right. iPhone 16?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
But AI, of course, is the big buzzword, as they're dropping their AI on the world. And that live stream announcement was also streamed on YouTube. So, which is never, I don't know when they started doing that. They might have started a couple of years ago, but I didn't notice it. But it used to be only ever on an Apple, yet you could only watch it on a Safari from the apple.com website. They never would put it on another streaming service. They would never give money to Google in that way, right? Because Google owns YouTube and they're making money off the advertising. There's no way. But now they realize the audience is there. They need to get their message in front of the audience, and they have to go to YouTube. There's they're putting all their differences aside and saying, forget it, we're just gonna stream it on YouTube like everybody else does, because that's the way to get the message across.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, are you gonna buy an iPhone, Kenton? New one?
No, I'm not going to. And apparently nobody is, because the old iPhones are pretty good.
They're fine.
We just had this discussion in class about the product life cycle.
We see this ad. You may have seen this ad about this. It's for I think it's for the new Google phone, but it shows this family taking a photo, and it shows the mom and the kid pose, and then the dad gets out and goes and poses with them. And that's the worst way to take a picture. I would hate to do that.
Yeah.
And why can't you just ask somebody who's passing by to take a photo of you as a family? That's so ridiculous.
Because they're going to steal your phone and run away.
But they're just trying to add too many gimmicks to these phones now to get us to buy them. It's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, my favorite on the new iPhone. Although the calculator app is now amazing. Did you see what they do with the calculator?
No.
There's a little button in the bottom left corner, and you push it, and you've got currency conversion. Ooh. You can write mathematical stuff with your finger, and it adds it up for you. It's unreal. Yeah, so that blew me away. Nothing else. So it's the calculator, and actually the big thing was you can move your home screen icons wherever you like. Who gives a shit? I don't care. I know where they are now, so I don't want to move them around.
You've been able to do that on an Android phone always. Yeah. That's the finally Apple's letting you do that after decades. All right.
Yeah, but it's nothing.
No, it's nothing. It's not a real addition to the product. Okay, let's finish up with some recommendations this week. I know we talked a lot about streaming services, but what do you have to recommend that you...
Well, I can't recommend it yet, but I'm going to say what I'm doing tonight is I'm going to the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, which is screening The Empire Strikes Back and playing the music live.
That's going to be fun.
And I find the reason I I'm looking forward to it. But one of the weird things is, like, I've seen this movie 1,000 times, but my heart's pounding. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. I'm so excited to see it. I'm thinking about scenes from the movie.
The asteroid scene.
Yeah, well, just so, yes, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I love the score during that scene.
The Dagobah stuff with the live orchestra. I'm like, this is going to be super cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of made me kind of get really interested in The Empire Strikes Back again, even after seeing it 1,000 times.
That's awesome. I didn't know. Is that good? Do they have more than one show for that, or I didn't know
I imagine they probably must.
I'll check it out. Maybe they're running that next week, and I can go next week. I totally didn't realize that was happening. I went to see Star Wars at the Met. Last month or whatever. It was like a screening there. That was a lot of fun. It was like a dinner and a movie kind of thing, and watched Star Wars, and that was a lot of fun. So, well, that's great. I would always, of course, Empire Strikes Back is always a good recommendation.
Oh.
And it is a lot of fun. I don't know whether I've been to one where they showed the movie alongside the orchestra, but I've definitely been to like orchestral performances where they do scores for movies. Like there was a superhero themed one. Yeah. I'm sure there was a Star Wars and Star Trek themed one I went to. Like they're a lot of fun.
Now I think they're showing, like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're showing scenes.
I'm sure they're showing it because that's a very common thing. They'll show the whole movie and the orchestra will play during the.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay,
what it is. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is.
I think that's what it is. I will report back.
Yes, if it's not, he'll tell us. Okay. Yeah. This week, I want to recommend a podcast. I've been listening to a lot more podcasts. As we begin the school year, I do an assignment with my students called Podlog, where I make them listen to podcasts and post about them. And I'm going to do it as well. I do it and I listen and post. And this week, I've been listening to The Rest is Entertainment, which is a current events or kind of entertainment, obviously, podcast, news-style podcast, hosted by two very lovely British people, Richard Osman and Marina Hyde, who are well known in Britain for various things. Richard Osman is a game show host, among other things. Also, his brother is in Suede, like the rock band Suede, which is kind of cool because every once in a while there's a question about something and he's like, I just asked my brother. And he was like, how long? Like there was a question about why do bands wait to come back and do the encore, right? Why don't they just like what that whole thing about the encore being like already planned out? And the question was, how long do they wait? Like, do they have a set amount of time? And the answer was from his brother, the length of a cigarette.
Yeah.
He just goes off stage, has a
break.
It's a break, and they go back out and play. Anyway, so they answer questions from the audience, but they also talk about whatever's in the news. They do similar to the way we do, where they just kind of pick up on stories and talk about it. They talked about the Emmys this week. They talked about The Bear not being a comedy. And I just find it's really fun. They have a good dynamic. I love listening to their British accents. And I find that they know a lot, and it's interesting to hear about the British aspect of the media. Like Marina Hyde, she's a journalist. She's got a lot of experience in journalism, so I like to hear about her perspective, because I've had experience in journalism, so it's really interesting in that way. I just really enjoyed listening to it. The rest of it, cool. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It sounds great, and I went back and rebought the Suede albums not too long ago, because that was a band I kind of missed in their day.
Yeah,
they're very good.
Yes,
the first two in particular are like right on.
Yeah, cool.
If I could remember the names, I'd say what they are, but I can't.
All right, that's going to do for this episode of The Media Nerds. I'm Dan Vanderbacher.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the door hit you on the ass.